Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on when you are watching this. I hope you are having a great day wherever you are in your day today. My name is Karen Milioto, and I'm the Director of Discipleship and Formation at University United Methodist Church in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you today. I'm pretty new on the staff, so if I've never met you in person and this is your first time kind of seeing me, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm really excited to know you. So let's get started today. I wanted to bring this out. If you've been hanging around the church during Advent, you probably have seen it, but it's our Advent devotional guide for weekly and daily kind of different meditations and reflection questions and practices that are taking us through this season together in worship and prayer. And so this current week and even last week in worship, we've been talking a little bit about lament, and we even had some time in worship on Sunday for communal lament. And what I've learned in talking to people, especially over the last couple of weeks, but I've learned this in myself as well, is that for a variety of reasons, a lot of us have some trouble thinking that we are licensed to or permitted to approach God in this way. So to come to God with our grievances and with our complaints, really, and with our cries of injustice or uncertainty or disbelief, and to just take all of those thoughts and feelings and observations and lay them out to God in a very honest way. And I think on one hand, it's difficult because there's that idea of why bother God with this stuff, or maybe surely God knows this stuff, and so why do I need to express it in this way? And then there's also, I think, I know this is true for myself, this idea of who am I to complain to God when I'm living and I'm breathing and things are relatively good? You know, how on earth do I feel justified to come to God and complain? But at the same time, and we talk about this a little bit in the devotional guide, for the people of Israel and even Jesus, we see this in his life, lament is something that really was a key part of their identity. They understood that in their relationship with God, as the children of God and the people of God, they kind of lived into that position as people who were licensed, very much so, to wail and cry out to God and be incredibly honest with God about the things that just weren't right in the world for them. And when they did that, you saw in a lot of ways a very true expression of that, the nature of the relationship between humankind and God. And so not only is it something that helps us realize God's love for us when we find ourselves free to finally approach God and just say, this is not okay, but it also opens us up to where our grief and our uncertainty and our losses and our concerns can be transformed, because when we bottle them all up inside of ourselves, they still exist and they still, kind of stir within us as anger would or as fear would. But when we learn to vocalize them, whether that's on paper or out loud, well, I guess if it's vocalized, it's out loud, but you know what I mean. We're opening ourselves up to release them to God too. And for me, I've been on probably like a 2-year kind of journey into lament, where it kind of started around the time that the pandemic started, and I really started to understand the contrast between, how we think things should be going and how they're actually going, and learning to communicate with God about that in a different way. And the passage that kind of came to me at the beginning of that journey was where Lazarus has passed away. And Mary and Martha are fired up about it. And when Jesus arrives, they're like, you should have been here. If you had come, this wouldn't have happened, And it's interesting, like on one hand, you see that relationship between Mary and Martha, and Jesus. And you understand that theirs was one of deep friendship and trust and openness. And then you also see this pathway towards life out of death, where Jesus first joins them and weeps with them. And I think that that's one thing we find when we really, really come to God with our cries, is that we're first met with consolation and a being seen, and an understanding that these things that hurt us and grieve us, these places where heaven and earth feel so far away, they hurt God too, very much. And God weeps alongside us, and we discover that the more we learn to kind of let these things loose to him. But then also, and this is my favorite part about that passage, is that Jesus then instructs them. And, he's like, yeah, you guys, we don't want Lazarus dead, so you have a role to play in transforming this situation from death to life. So roll the stone away, and they're complaining about that, like it's going to smell. And then remove the grave clothes, help him see, So Jesus does the raising of the dead, but there are human hands in all of that. And there's this instruction of this thing that grieves you. There's a pathway to move from the death in it and from that dark enclosed tomb towards life. And when we learn to conversate with God about it, and when we learn to kind of get involved in an exchange that releases all of those pent up petitions, we also find a pathway where those things can be transformed in one way or another to something light. So as we kind of move through this crafting of a Psalm of Lament, and if you would like a copy of this book, you can get one at the church office. You can also get it online on our church's website. I just want to invite you to really free yourself of the things that are stirring inside of you as just wholly unacceptable. The stuff you look at in the world and you're like, this is wrong. This is not God's will being done on earth. Or this hurt me, or this hurt someone I love, or this is a wound that can't remain here. And just try to figure out a way to express that. And I want to close with a quote that I think kind of touches on all the edges of this conversation about really encountering our grief. If I can find it, it's in this devotional guide. It's from Alfred Delp. The great question to us is whether we are still capable of being shocked, or whether it is to remain, so that we see thousands of things and know that they should not be and must not be, and that we get hardened to them. How many things have we become so used to in the course of the years, of the weeks and months, so that we stand unchecked, unstirred, inwardly unmoved? So that's just kind of, always think of it as maybe a callus that forms over our wounds, where we just kind of harden ourselves to them, where God invites us to a path of softness and healing that still leaves scars, but also transforms what happened into new skin and new life, and pliable life. So I hope that this blessed you. I will be praying for you as you journey along with us through Advent, and think about your own laments and think about your own cries, so that ultimately when we come to Christmas, we find that beautiful promise of people who are marked by this beautiful invitation to be both weary and rejoicing at once, and to understand that even though in this world there are troubles, we can take heart because Jesus has overcome the world. So I hope that I see you soon. I want to invite you to a couple different things that are happening in the life of our church. in the next few weeks. The first one is that we have a pretty awesome worship service planned for you on Sunday. You can come in person. There's one at 8:30 and one at 11. You can also watch it online at 11. And it's just going to be a very, very, very beautiful carol service that has been put together with a lot of heart by our music director, Johnny. And I think that you'll be so blessed by it. We also have a really cool art show that's set up that you can come and walk through. It's the art of Scott Erickson, who has a series called Honest Advent, and there's pictures up in the chapel. If you'd like more information about that, you can email me at karen@universitymethodist.org. So I just hope that you will journey with us and keep coming back to discover how we are a people who can rejoice even in our weariness, and what that looks like, and how we transform pain into hope. So have a great day. Bye.